Now, we're going to lighten the mood a little bit in today's perspective, because if you want to scratch your back and you're a nimble kind of person, you can probably, well, just about manage to reach around to have a good scratch if you can. If it's a bit harder for you, you can position yourself along a sharp cornered wall, or of course, you find an implement, perhaps a ruler, to help out. But what if you are a cow? Well, you may remember that a week or so ago, Dipti brought us the story in the press review of the cow Veronica that has started using a broom to scratch its back. The first documented case of tool use in cattle. Well, joining us now on the programme is Osuna Mascaro, who's researcher at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme. I know that when you first heard about this story, you were a little bit sceptical, I gather. Tell us why.
Well, of course, this was a great surprise to us. This came from a video that Alice Hausberg, head of the lab in which I'm doing my research, she published a book last year, and she's receiving so many videos from people who claim that their animals are using tools. And one of the readers of this book was visiting Carinthia, the south of Austria, and he watched this cow using tools. And when we saw the video, we were amazed by it, because we are very strict about what we consider tool use. We only consider tool use when a subject, an animal, is able to expand its own limits and to gain something from it, to have a function with this. And this was clearly tool use. So we wanted to go there and to test if Veronica was flexible using tools. So this means, so if she really understands what she's doing.
So you did go there, and it was proved to not be any kind of hoax or anything like that.
Exactly. No, this is quite difficult to tell if a video is made by AI, right? So we wanted to go there and we wanted to test this ability of doing tool use in a flexible way. So for this, our best idea was to get a broom, because a broom has a functional end, on one side, and has a non-functional end, the handle, on the other side, right? So if Veronica was indeed using this tool in a meaningful way, she will have a preference for using the broom end, of course, and she will use it to target body areas that will be otherwise unreachable. And she confirmed it. She confirmed completely our predictions, and she did way more things than this.
What kind of things?
Well, the surprising thing was that from time to time, she was also using the non-functional end, right, the handle, to scratch herself. So at the beginning, we thought that this was the result of a mistake. Perhaps Veronica was not careful enough when choosing which tool end to use to scratch herself, right? But after a while, we started to notice a pattern. And Veronica indeed had a preference for using the broom end, the functional end. But when she was using the handle end, she was also using it in a meaningful way. She was using the broom end to scratch those body areas in which her skin is thick, and she was using the handle to scratch those body areas where her skin is sensitive and soft. Wow. And she was using different techniques. And this was mind-blowing, because the technique that she uses when she's using the broom against this hard part of her body is very similar to the one that any of us will use when cleaning the apartment, right? So, and the one that she used with the handle, the part that we thought it was non-functional, is completely different.
Why is it so surprising, this? I mean, obviously, it seems unusual to us when we see these images of a cow scratching its back, but amongst the animal kingdom, it's pretty rare, isn't it? Very rare for animals to use tools.
It's rare to use tools in this way, and it's surprising for so many different reasons. I will say that this response is twofold. From one side, this is the first experimental study on tool use in cattle, and this is quite surprising because the dexterity that Veronica is showing is simply amazing. We were not expecting Veronica to be able to use tools in a multi-purpose way, or to use tools at all. And the other reason is that we have been living with cows for 10,000 years. There are around 1.5 billion heads of cattle in the world, bulls and cows. And, I work with Goffin's cockatoos, which are small cockatoos, 300 grams, and they are amazing using tools. But they come from the Moluccans, from the Tanimbar archipelago in Indonesia. We know more about the tool using capabilities of exotic animals that come from really remote islands all over the world than what we know about those animals that we have been sharing with lives with for thousands of years. And this is telling us something really big about the biases that we have when observing and studying the world around us.
And is there anything special about Veronica? I mean, there's no way she could have been trained to do this? Or, I mean, I gather that she does have, or has had rather an unusual life for a cow, if you like.
Exactly. This is one of the key things. When we arrived to Carinthia to meet Veronica, the first surprising thing was finding out that Veronica was not a regular cow. She lives like a pet. And she's 13 years old. Usually for a cow, for a milk production cow, they live like 4-6 years. And a meat production cow live for 1 to 2 years old only. And Veronica discovered by herself how to use tools 9 years ago. And she has developed during this time this fantastic technique that we have reported in our study. But being a pet, this means that Veronica has had the opportunities of playing and interacting with objects during a long time. And this is why, with these enriched living conditions, that she is expressing something that we think all cows and bulls have the potential to express.
So finally then, I mean, what does this mean, if you like, in the scientific world? I mean, are there any sort of longer term ramifications or implications for this discovery?
Of course, this is a big change for us. You know that science is all the time, creating a model, a representation of how the world we think works, right? And all the time, science is reshaping this model of the world. This is what we do all the time. We create hypotheses and we contrast them. And what we have discovered with Veronica is a big change in this model, this representation of the world that science has. So now we have to acknowledge that cattle are able to use tools. They have this potential capability when we give them the opportunity to express it, when we give them the living conditions that they deserve.
Antonio, it's great to talk to you on the programme. I have to repeat, when we did this story a week or so ago, when it initially came out, we were all making jokes and puns. And, the best one I think we came up with was whether Veronica was just trying to give herself a pat on the back.
Yeah, of course. Perhaps the key thing here is to distinguish that Veronica is using a tool for scratching her back, as we will do, but we will not use the same tool that we use to scratch our back if we want to scratch our face, right? We will use a different tool and we will apply a different, more gentle approach to that, right? So this is what Veronica is doing.
Good to hear about it, and good to hear your research. I'm sure it will continue after this discovery. Antonio Osuna Mascaro from the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme today.
Thank you so much for